collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
On this week's programme, today is the last day for campaigning in the presidential election. Will 4 private TV channels here go ahead with their plan to host a debate with only 3 of the candidates, in blatant disregard of the law?
I am still hopeful that this intervention will materialize for this evening, because already a recommendation has been issued pointing out that this is not exactly free press if you are blocking 4 of the candidates from such a debate.
The World Health Organization is to open a country office in Cyprus.
So the more that we bring countries together and have joint action and put health at the top of the political agenda, the better for society. Because what we saw is health is not everything, but without health there is nothing.
And we talk to the transmission system operator about the problems plaguing our energy sector.
As other countries, we don't have yet any storage technologies installed in the system.
Well, today is the last day that the media are allowed to cover the presidential elections. They're happening, of course, on Sunday. It's the first round, and widely expected that there will be a second round the following Sunday. We're joined by independent candidate Achilleas Dimitriadis. He held a press conference yesterday, once again outlining the pillars of what he stands for, and he joins us now just for a recap, Achilleas, but also I want to ask you about the fact that there is another debate tonight and you're not taking part. Why not?
Well, I'll start with your last question first, and the last question has to do with the decision of 4 channels and 3 candidates to form a cartel in having 4 broadcasts which will be aired simultaneously on all private channels. I find that to be contrary to any sense of freedom of speech, because these 4 private channels have arranged with these 3 candidates essentially to have 4 debates on their own. Fortunately, last time, the candidates were increased to 7 after a lot of pressure and after the supervising authorities' intervention. I am still hopeful that this intervention will materialize for this evening, because already a recommendation has been issued pointing out that this is not exactly free press if you are blocking 4 of the candidates from such a debate. Now, as far as the debate for the people, I find that as fudging the issue, because the debate of the people could have taken place any time up to today, and suddenly one candidate has proposed to do it on the internet. We have done podcasts and they were very successful. My priority is to attend this 4-channel debate because I believe that as part of the honest state that I am advocating, TV channels should allocate equal time to candidates.
As they are required to do by our law.
Exactly. Well, the frequency is part of the national treasure. It's ownership of the Cypriot people, and they have to be dealt with in accordance with the law and under the license the TV stations get. And my opinion is that the terms of the license are breached if the 7 candidates that were invited last time are not invited tonight at the debate.
It'll be very interesting to see if there's any comeback because they broke the law. Now, let me also ask you about the pillars that you mentioned, because it's funny, isn't it? I've read the manifestos of a lot of the other candidates, and I see quite a lot of your ideas popping up in what they now say they're going to be doing.
Yeah, well, Rosie, I mean, it's what's the joke on this one? The best compliment for a creator is to have his ideas copied. So I'll leave it to that. But I have no problem. I came up with a program on the 28th of February last year. That program has been supplemented along the road, and we have done better. But the essence was there. If people have decided to copy it, so be it. It is for the benefit of this country. I have taken out my priorities from the 3 pillars. I'll just remind listeners, it is the honest state, it is Cyprus of the year 2035, and it is no to partition. The solution is to our benefit. So under these 3 pillars, I have broken down the 12 priorities. In the first one, there are 5. In the second one, in Cyprus 2035, there are 4. And in the solution of the Cyprus problem, 3. And let me very quickly go through. The first one is the golden passports, as people call it, the scandal in which Cyprus has been exposed so badly and for which the issues of corruption came up. I want a criminal investigator, an independent criminal investigator, to be appointed in the first meeting of the Council of Ministers so as to examine this matter and bring those who have breached the law before justice. Second, I want the competence of the Attorney General to be split in Director of Public Prosecutions and Legal Advisor of the State, because there is a conflict and that conflict of interest has to be resolved. This has been done in most of the Commonwealth countries whose common law system we follow. I'm also very interested in the independency of the independent officers of the government. I want, for the Attorney General, the Auditor General, the methodology of appointing them requires some input from the House of Representatives in holding public hearings like you do in the Europarliament or in the US. And this does not require the change of the law or the Constitution, which would be the best thing to do, but requires an understanding or a convention between the President of the House of Representatives and the President of the Republic. I want to introduce a serious law on the model of what Mr. Pissaridis, Panayotidis and Syrimis have created in a blueprint for checking how politicians get money during the time they are in power. There are a number of privileges that are unacceptable to me. For example, the Cyprus government will get 1.3 million as a bonus for doing their work. Now, I haven't heard any government getting a bonus for the president or the ministers, nor have I heard getting cars or using services from the state, and I think that is unacceptable and should be reviewed. Let me now turn to Cyprus of the year 2035, and I'd like to introduce a cooperation or an assistance fund which will help Greek Cypriots whose properties are in the occupied areas get aid from the government. The idea is, apparently there's around 150 to 300 million in surplus from the budget, which one of the candidates says we should give as a tax lowering exercise. My approach is that we should assist the displaced persons and the government should buy these properties back in order to help them out. And this should be done on the basis of fixed criteria, which will deal with people that are actually in need and not just assist people as they are. I'm also very interested in housing. I think housing is a big issue, especially housing for people who are in university or young couples. We need to get all the governmental and non-governmental agents in this exercise to come together and help these people get cheap housing, or affordable, to use a better word. We can take the example of the church in Limassol, where they have built dorms for students, and that should also continue. One Cyprus and green is one of my favorites because I believe in One Cyprus. I also believe in the green transformation, and going green is a big deal for me, especially from electricity, because the electricity authority is costing the Cypriot taxpayer 800,000 euros per day on the surcharge for polluting. So we really need need to cut down on the production by the electricity authority, and self-generation at home with solar panels is perhaps the best idea. So there's a whole theory on that one. The immigration issue is a big thing for me as well. I want to replace the 300 guards that are going to be employed with 300 graduates who can assist in processing applications, and very quickly turn to the solution of the Cyprus problem, which is on the basis of the Guterres 6-point that has to be introduced. But I also want two new things, which I think you will like. I want a truth commission for the missing. I want to upgrade the Committee on Missing Persons to a truth commission. And finally, on the federal state, I want to introduce the class of teaching the federal citizen of how things will be, as well as drafting the state constitution by the Greek Cypriot state that will be part of the federal solution. So thank you very much. Sorry I've taken long, but this has been 11 months of work. So I hope I've managed to project what I am trying to do, and I wish people to attend the election and vote wisely.
Well, thank you very much for joining us once again, and I'll finish by saying imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So that really brings us back to see whether or not any of your 11 months of work will find its way into the new government.
Well, I sincerely hope so, but I'll be around to check it, so don't worry, we'll talk again.
Achilleas Dimitriadis talking to me about the presidential elections, and all we need to say is you must make sure, whoever you vote for, that you do go to the polling booths on Sunday.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Last week, our Minister of Health, Michalis Hadjipandela, and the World Health Organization's Regional Director, Dr. Hans-Henri P. Kluge, signed an agreement for the opening of a country office in Larnaca. I attended the signing ceremony and spoke afterwards to Dr. Kluge and our Minister of Health. I started by asking Dr. Kluge what exactly the office was going to be dealing with.
So this office in Cyprus is strategically very well located because it's a bridge between East and West. And what we saw with the COVID-19 is that a top-down global health security architecture doesn't work. We need inter-regional collaboration. A country's public health is linked with the regional public health, with global public health, so very concrete. We're going to work together between the two regions and then even have the African region inviting as well on issues like zoonotic surveillance, predictive analysis of which future threats we should anticipate, sharpen health intelligence where we feel that we lack some data. It's really bringing countries together, because we saw that the early warning system in several countries was too weak to alert on COVID-19 and on threats. But we also need, even if the diagnosis is there, we need joint action. Because the key issue is that no one is safe until everyone is safe. Meaning that we need to bring these countries together. And Cyprus has been doing very well in the COVID-19. Also, in terms of life expectancy, it's one of the highest life expectancies, facing similar challenges as other countries like chronic diseases, childhood obesity. So the more that we bring countries together and have joint action and put health at the top of the political agenda over heads of state, the better for society. Because what we saw is health is not everything, but without health there is nothing.
I was very interested to notice that you were talking about the holistic approach and the fact that human health is very much linked to animal health and the environment. We've just opened a brand new veterinary school here in Cyprus at the University of Nicosia that is operating on exactly that principle. So how can you get that message across to all the countries in this region?
Yes. So first on that, I just came from the university and I spoke with the dean. So we're going to work on that issue as well. So 2 years ago, I established an independent commission, the Pan-European Commission on Health and Sustainable Development, to rethink policy priorities in the light of pandemic. It was chaired by Professor Mario Monti, previous Prime Minister of Italy and European Commissioner. And one of the key recommendations was to work on One Health. So we have put it at our governing board of the 53 member states, and now WHO Europe got the mandate to develop a regional action plan. We have established already a technical advisory group to provide technical input, evidence, data, and then, of course, it's up to each country to adapt it, to implement it in their country, but WHO will continue to overlook this kind of implementation of the regional action plan, and then through the office here again, we take Eastern Mediterranean region on board and the African region.
And talking of the office here, let's come to our Minister of Health. What is this going to do you think, for Cyprus?
We would like Cyprus to be in the leader for health reasons. So we want to put Cyprus in the map of World Health Organization, let's say, and our aim is to establish this office and to be the best of the WHO. This is the mandate I gave to my friends from the WHO. We want this office to be successful and, if possible, to be the best in the world. Because by being successful and being the best in the world, it means we are helping people, we are offering better services not only to Cypriot people, but people that they are living in our region.
And it's obviously just starting up. I know that the offices are not quite ready yet in Larnaca, but they will be. Why was Larnaca chosen as opposed to Nicosia, which is obviously where the ministry is and so on?
Yeah, but the office will be located in Larnaca. When the offices will be located, they will be located in an old hospital. There is a meaning because they will be in an old hospital built by the British during the 19th century. So we're talking about an old hospital with the relation of health. And as well, we have chosen Larnaca because we have received support from the Larnaca municipality. As you know that the premises that would be provided free of charge by the Larnaca municipality. So the fact that the city of Larnaca endorse the office and they show their support and their love, we couldn't take this into consideration when we decided about this.
And of course, I think Larnaca is also host, is it not, to a research institute to do with maritime affairs.
Yes.
That's all part of One Earth, isn't it?
Yes, this is true as well. And Larnaca as well is only 20 minutes away from Nicosia, so we are not talking about something very important.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
There's been a lot of talk recently about how well or not Cyprus is doing as regards to renewable energy. And a little bit of a spat happened earlier this week with accusations that the transmission system operator and the energy minister are locked horns on this issue. So we're joined this week by Vrahimis Koutsouloukas, who is the spokesman of the transmission system operator. Vrahimi, what exactly is the problem at the moment?
Okay, let me first clarify that the previous week the transmission system operator together with the distribution system operator has sent a letter to the Ministry of Energy with some suggestions regarding the small photovoltaic systems. Those suggestions were actually to include the pending applications and the new applications that are going to come, to include them in a new scheme that is being prepared by the ministry. In this new scheme, the plan was to be included some additional technical requirements compared to the existing requirements. The minister replied to the operators that these requirements can be included in the existing scheme. So this is what is going to happen with the pending applications.
Can I just ask you, what are these new requirements?
Yes, the reason that the new requirements are necessary is that there is a limit about the non-controllable photovoltaic systems. This limit was calculated and approved in 2021, and it is up to 145 megawatts. And now we are very close to reaching this limit. So some new technical requirements were necessary to be included in order to reduce the number of the new non-controllable photovoltaics.
We are nowhere near where we need to be in the use of renewable energy sources in Cyprus. We set the bar so very low that we're not even going to meet our own setting, let alone the European requirement, which is much higher. So why have we left ourselves open to not being able to expand the grid as it should be so that all these renewables can go into it?
Okay, the Cyprus system has a special characteristic that is not very common. We are an isolated system. We don't have any interconnections with other countries. And additionally, as other countries, we don't have yet any storage technologies installed in the system.
I could ask you why not? Because it's very clear from the very beginning days of renewable energy that because it happens at certain times of day when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, that there must be built-in storage facilities so that it serves its purpose.
Yes, the storage technology that is suitable for the Cyprus system is the battery storage, and this is a new technology that is now being developed. Even in larger countries, the battery storage is not so well developed and included in the system. So it is something that we expect now to start be available also in Cyprus. What we can say about the storage is that we know that there is a scheme prepared by the ministry, according to which the individual companies and also electricity authority will be able to take advantage of this scheme and install some storage facilities.
The whole idea when this was mooted many years ago was that individual households and businesses could all, in a sense, contribute so that we had certainly enough energy for everybody. Energy security is a buzzword in the EU at the moment. And I can't understand, since this has been in the pipeline for so many years, why we haven't got further down the road. Can you explain?
You're asking about individual companies to...
Well, no, I'm asking about the grid. It's not set up, is it, properly for what's required?
Okay, the system, the electricity network, it's not a major issue for the development of and the penetration of the renewables. There are only some certain areas, some specific areas where there was very much interest of installing renewables in the specific areas, and the network got congested in those areas. There is plenty of space in the total of the electricity network for new renewables to be installed.
So why can't all these new renewables that have been applied for be fed into the grid instead of into a battery?
The renewables are fast growing, and we have many applications that are already in the pipeline, and they are going to be connected in the next months. But the problem is that the storage facilities, as I told you earlier, it's not available at the moment. So the excess production of all those renewables must be curtailed at some times of the day.
I'm not clear. It must be curtailed, or it's just simply that it can't be fed into the grid?
It must be curtailed. We don't allow the renewable systems to produce more energy that the system can absorb. The demand at every time must be equal to the production, to the total production. So if the total production is greater than the demand, then we have to curtail them. And by saying curtailing, we mean that we do not allow them to produce more than the system can take.
So we're never going to reach the targets that we're supposed to reach by the sound of it?
I cannot say that. I want to be optimistic that we are going to reach the targets. we are not far away from the initial target, and the target is set for the 230. So there is some time to.
So what's the role
towards that direction?
What's the role of the transmission system operator in this? What do you have to do to bring us up to those standards required by 2030?
Okay, the transmission system operator is responsible for operating the system in a safe way and to guarantee the electricity supply for all the consumers in the most economic possible way. As a system operator, though, the transmission system operator is not allowed to develop or to install his own facilities, for example, storage facilities or renewable. The system operator is responsible to use all the available tools to guarantee the supply and to ensure to have an adequate network grid to connect all the interested producers.
What is the role in all of this of the Electricity Authority of Cyprus and the fact that for the last, 10 or more years, we've been talking about opening up the electricity market? We've even, I think, given licences to some private operators, and yet they still have a monopoly. What difference would it make if the market were actually opened up? What needs to be done?
The Electricity Authority is now divided operationally divided in 4 sections. 2 of those are competitive, the section of production and the section of supply, and the other 2, that is the distribution network and the transmission network operation and ownership are monopolies. The networks everywhere in Europe are physical monopolies. So we have Electricity Authority has the 2 other sections that are the competitive sections. For these sections, the production and the supply, there is not. It is not true that it is a monopoly because there are already some additional suppliers and producers that they are taking part in the transitional market that is being operating since 2017, if I'm not wrong.
Right, where do we go from here? Because I think the one thing that bothers everybody at the moment is that electricity bills keep going up, and there doesn't seem to be any view in the near future that we might manage to do whatever it takes to bring them down.
Well, I cannot say about how the prices are going to be the next few months or the next year. I can say what it is being in process now. The full opening of the competitive market is going to take place the next months, according to the expectations. And the next step is the introduction of the storage facilities, for which, as you said before, there is a scheme preparing by the ministry. And after that, after some years, we expect to be able to be interconnected to some other countries as well. And all this together will give a better chance, some better conditions in order for the electricity bill to get lower.
All right. Well, I did speak to the chairman of the relevant House committee in the autumn last year. He also said that within a few months things would be liberalised, and we're still waiting. It's the same thing for the last decade. So it's very difficult to believe these figures when there doesn't seem to be anything to back it up. What happens to all the people who've put in an application to put maybe photovoltaics on their roof, because we've been encouraged to do that, I believe, by this government, and then now it seems that there are calls for those applications to be either changed or put on hold for the moment?
There is not going to be any problem with the applications for the rooftop photovoltaics, and the requirements are going to change. It's just some minor changes on the settings of the existing equipment, or some additional equipment, very small equipment with minimal cost.
Is that the batteries at 2,000 to 2,500 euros each? That's not a minimal cost for the average household.
No, I'm not talking about the batteries. The batteries are not going to be a requirement. The batteries are installed voluntarily by those who want. There's no requirement for the households to install the battery facilities.
So I don't then understand what the fuss was all about between the representative of the Wind Energy Association and the Ministry and indeed the TSO.
What can I say is that there were some suggestions from the operators. These suggestions are in a way accepted by the Ministry, and they're going to be implemented in the existing scheme. I don't know about the representative of the Wind. What was the...
Well, I haven't been able to get hold of him. I have tried. But at the same time, I guess one of the ways around this, if there is going to be an added cost for people who are trying to do their bit to raise our RES input somewhat, I suppose a windfall tax on the people who are making a fortune at the moment out of the RES and selling it to the EAC or whoever, and that could be used to subsidise batteries or whatever else is required.
I cannot say about this. This is handled by the Ministry, so it's not something that the system operator can handle.
Very diplomatic of you, if I may say so, Brahimi. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll watch with interest to see how much input we can get from renewable energy sources in Cyprus. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.